Knitting Daily has been sponsored in part by WEBS, America's Yarn Store, a source for knitting and crocheting yarns and supplies. Yarn.com.
Here we are on location in Long Beach, and I've got Bordhi with me, who's the author of Socks Soar on Two Circular Needles. Is
Correct.
That right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, tell me about two circular needles. You kind of pioneered this technique.
Well, I did. DPNs have been used for centuries. Double-pointed needles, and they're wonderful, except that you need either at least 3 plus 1 active one or 4 plus 1 active one. So you have a lot of intersections and a lot of points that you have to not get poked by.
And let's just remind everybody that these are all methods for circular knitting. Right?
Yes, to knit tubes that are relatively small. Tubes that are too small to do with a larger circular needle.
Okay.
Shall I show you?
Yeah, let's just
Okay, here I have 2 needles. Each one has 1/2 of the circumference. And it's really, really simple because one needle works while the other needle rests.
I see.
It just hangs down like that,
so
out of your way.
For our purposes, just a giant stitch holder.
Yeah, it's really a giant stitch holder. And if it's longer, it just hangs down farther. If it's shorter, if it's too short, it can hit you in the nose as you're knitting.
Right.
I like a 24 inch.
Okay.
So you just see I'm knitting across here, and it won't take me long to get to the other end. When the yarn is at the other end, it goes to the next needle, and this needle will become a resting needle.
Okay.
So it's very, it's extraordinarily simple, but it's new to people if they have never seen it before.
And why would you recommend this method over?
A number of reasons. One, you only have 2 intersections instead of 3 or 4, so you go faster.
And I can see how for something like Fair Isle or something with a big pattern repeat, that would be really helpful.
Yes. Let me slow down as I make the change here. I'm at the end of this needle. I pull it so that it can hang down.
Okay.
And I pull the other one so it can be active.
Okay.
So they've just traded places. They do the same thing, but the yarn travels around, the needles work on only their own stitches. So let's say I had a really fancy Fair Isle pattern or something else that you didn't want to break the middle of the pattern because then you'd get confused. You could put 2/3 of the stitches on one needle and 1/3 here, and because everything is so flexible, it will behave nicely.
So it's really pretty flexible, as you say. You
It
can
is.
kind of make it work the way that you want it. So tell me what you're working on right now.
These will be, they could be any of these 3 things. This is the simplest. It's simply a wrist warmer.
And it's just a tube.
Just a tube.
What are the name of these 3?
Mindigo wrist warmers.
And the pattern is on the web.
Mindigo fingerless mitts and Mindigo mittens.
Okay.
They all start out the same way, like this. And this one does nothing but get long.
Let me try this one on here.
That one is a mitten. Same pattern, but turns into a mitten. And this one is sort of the in-between because it doesn't turn into a mitten, it stops short of being a mitten. So you can type or drive or...
3 versions of the same.
Yes, yes.
And could you knit, like the thumb is a tube on its own. Could you knit this
you
on 2
certainly
circulars
could.
as well?
Absolutely. That's how it's done.
Okay,
That's
great.
how it's done.
Great. And, you know, as we take a look here, you've got some socks on the table
Yes.
too. You could knit basically anything that
anything that is a small tube.
Right.
Anything that's a small tube.
Right.
For instance, I didn't do with any of these socks, but this is one of the great advantages of this is that you can put the sole of the sock on a smaller needle and it'll last longer for durability. You'll get a tighter gauge, and this one can be a larger needle.
So
you can go up by 2 sizes and get away with it.
So you can really fine tune to make it.
You
exactly
can really
what you
fine
want.
tune.
Well, I think that this is really just a very forward-thinking kind of way of doing this. You could knit sleeves, right? You
Sleeves,
could knit socks.
Hats, children's things.
Basically anything that you could knit on double points, you can knit on 2 circulars.
Yes.
Well, thanks very much, Kat.
My pleasure.
Knitting Daily. Make time for yarn every day. Visit knittingdailytv.com for free access to all of the project instructions, ideas, tips, and techniques from this season of Knitting Daily. This is Show 510. Take your knitting to the next level. Visit knittingdailytv.com for your free e-booklet of 30 knitting techniques for beginner knitting and beyond from the designers featured on Knitting Daily TV. If you enjoyed today's show and want more tips, tricks, and great guest appearances, a DVD set of Knitting Daily TV Series 500 is now available on knittingdailytv.com. Enjoy your favorite shows from this season, plus 3 bonus lessons from host Uni Jang. Each DVD set is $39.99 plus shipping and handling.